It's me, Michael, and it's a joy to be with you today. And I agree with what Tom said. Yep. So good to see everybody. Go ahead.
This is Mary. It's just great to be back at the table again with all of you. The summer went so fast. Joe, thank you for recording the meeting. I think it's wonderful that we can include members whose schedules aren't allowing them to be with us today. So they'll be with us, just on a little bit of a time delay.
Hi there, my name is Lorena Lee. I'm the student support advocate at Frank Wagner Elementary School, and I'm also a community member.
Welcome.
Hi, I'm Kathy Jackson, and I'm a family engagement liaison for the school district, and I'm so glad to be here with you all.
Hi everybody, it's Kimberly Clem from Cascade Church. I'm the community care director and I'm eating my lunch, so I'm keeping my camera off, but great to be back.
Kathy Bernhardt, family liaison with Monroe School District.
I'm Erin Wood. I'm the behavioral health specialist for Monroe School District.
Good afternoon,
library manager. Oh, sorry, Kim.
Well, Phil, you go.
Oh, library manager, board member at the Community Foundation of Snohomish County.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Kim Whitworth, Chief Academic Officer in Monroe, and I'm just so thankful for this coalition because we have a lot of work to do. So thank you.
I'm Juliet D'Alessandro. I am with Snohomish Health District. I am a healthy communities specialist here, and currently I think our coalition, community coalition representative for a few of the coalitions in the county. And most of my work at the health district focuses on substance use prevention, whether that is marijuana prevention, a little bit of tobacco and vapor prevention, and then currently I'm also working on a opioid prevention and response grant into rural communities. So one of those is parts of the Sky Valley area as well. So we overlap a little bit there as well. And Joe has been a wonderful addition to that group as well. So hello to everyone.
Hi, I'm Morgan Huber. I'm the SSA at Park Place and Hidden River Middle.
My name's Jeff Jolly. I'm with Monroe Police Department, and I'm happy to be part of this group and see all of your faces again and work together to see if we can do things to enhance the community we do have.
I've been talking to some people with young children, and it sounded like they were thinking they're planning to homeschool until the schools open back up. And I was just wondering if some of the school people know if that's an outlier or if we're going to see more of that, because it's you know, and I guess it's not till Monday that you really get the first count of for the school year. But any indication of enrollment for the coming year from any of the school people?
We are going to be looking at Monroe at enrollment this afternoon and tomorrow. We try to do a 4-day count. But yesterday, our elementary schools were doing some enrollment and pickup of computers and touching base with kids that went into the early evening. So we don't have a count at this time.
Okay, yeah. Well, we, you know, we've always started on Wednesday, and we've always had the fourth day was the best count, yeah, for the most part, because some people just took that extra week and didn't come in till that Monday. So, but we've always, so it'll be interesting to watch that though, and to see, you know, the implications.
I'd like to recognize the Monroe School District employees that are with us on the call today. It's an amazingly stressful, hectic time. And for you to commit to the coalition, to carve out time and space for us, it's appreciated.
You're here. Joe, I think we'll turn it over to you now for the program and strategy overview.
Okay, thanks, Tom. So welcome back, everybody. I know we only took August off, but it's been a long summer and probably not for the right reasons, but we're back. And so like anytime we're coming back from a gap, I have some updates that I wanted to share with you. And hopefully catch you up to speed. So first order of business is to let you know that the annual community survey of adults is now live. Beginning probably tomorrow, I'll start to get these links out to you. We've previously brainstormed a list of opportunities and ways to get the survey into the hands of community members. Annual community survey of adults is done every year. It wraps up by December each year. Our grant requires a minimum of 215 respondents based on the size of our community. At 215 responses, the epidemiologists believe we can start to generalize those responses in a way that helps us to plan and meet the needs of the community. All participants must be over 18 and live and work in Monroe, and surveys available in both English and Spanish. So I wanted to make you aware of this. I wanted to encourage each of you to participate in this. It will be live for the next couple of months, but I anticipate that we'll get all of our responses, or most of them, within the next couple of weeks. So responses are always heavy at first and then just slowly trickle in. I'd really like to wrap this up this year. I wanted to share.
Joe?
Yes,
Joe?
I can't see you, so
Yeah.
please just talk over me.
Okay, this is Chris. I don't live in the city of Monroe, but I live in the school district of Monroe. Does that count? So
Yeah.
that I can have my neighbors participate even though we don't live within the city itself?
Chris, I'm so glad for you. That's exactly what's required. So if you, let me change this. If you live or work within Monroe School District boundary lines, you can participate, because City of Monroe has about 19,000 residents, but Monroe School District has about 37,000, and this 215 number is based on that count.
Okay.
Great
So-
clarification. Yes.
This is Mary. Is there a demographic that we were weak with representation in last year's survey that we should be making extra effort to focus on?
We really need to push the survey into the hands of our Latinx families. Last year, only 4% of respondents identified as Hispanic or Latino. We had 0 Spanish language surveys completed online. So this really needs to be an area of emphasis for us this year. Yes, thank you. Any other thoughts or comments on the survey? I'm going to push this out to you again by tomorrow. And the more you can do to help communicate this within your spheres of influence, the better off we'll be. We'll really need you for this.
Joe, one other question.
Yes.
Could you highlight quickly the questions on your right? I believe those are the local questions.
Oh, sure. So
that
each year,
we added.
yeah, so each year we do a series of custom questions. We're one of the most consistent communities in the state with regard to custom questions. And our questions tend to be the same every year so that we can track community changes. The questions that you see on screen in front of you are our mental health questions. So respondents are asked to mark true, false, or that they don't know. The following questions are about how equipped you feel to help a loved one dealing with substance use and mental health issues. And so really simply, I can recognize the difference between normal teenage behavior and symptoms of depression, anxiety, or substance use in my child or another young person I care about. If I notice a change in the behavior or activity patterns of my child or another young person I care about, I would be able to discuss my concerns with them in a non-accusatory manner. I know where to go for help, assistance, or advice if I'm concerned about my child or another young person I care about. I know the signs of suicide and how to ask a young person if they are considering suicide. I would like to learn more about how to respond to substance use and mental health issues. The other custom questions that we wrap into this are questions about vaping use awareness and recognition, and specific questions that align with one of the grant deliverables, which is to reduce alcohol use among youth in the community. And so these tend to be environmental questions like community support for policy level action at the city level. And that's what we've got. So for those who aren't familiar with how we use this, we are required to produce a database strategic plan. I'm going to share that with you in a little bit, but just very, very high level. And these questions directly inform the strategies of the coalition. So we take the environmental questions about policy level measures directly to the city of Monroe and Chief Jolly and his team, the school district and school board. We operationalize the questions on mental health. We have Aaron Wood in the group with us today, and Aaron and I do suicide prevention trainings in the community. Aaron's responsible for staff training within the district and leading our signs of suicide implementation, so our all student suicide prevention training. Everything that we do comes back to what we know about our community from our community or from surveys that our students are engaged in. So as much as possible, we're trying to limit our best guesses and go where the data says we need to concentrate our resources and efforts. Any other questions about the annual community survey? Okay. So I just wanted to share a couple of slides that I shared with the leadership team, and I've actually shared with basically all staff in Monroe School District. But the Washington State Healthcare Authority has been releasing monthly updated behavioral health forecasts for the community. What their epidemiologists are tracking are trends that exactly mirror a high-level community crisis outbreak or response, a traumatic response. And so you can see that, disaster response. And you can see that Washington State has really closely followed the disaster response curve, both in terms of pre-disaster, so December, January, February, and what we're expecting, community coming together at a peak around March and April, and then our descent into triggering events that are leading into this coming fall and winter, and what the Washington State Healthcare Authority is anticipating in the coming months are acting out and acting in behaviors like increased aggression, law-breaking violence, substance use, hopelessness, and withdrawal and depression, including child abuse and domestic violence. But really, if you look at the right highlighted blue box, moving into this fall and winter, the Healthcare Authority is anticipating major depressive disorders to impact between 30 and 60% of the general population, and symptoms of PTSD manifesting among between 5 and 30% of the population. So this is both youth and adults. I wanted to make you aware of this because this is exactly what our coalition is up against. So we are a primary substance abuse prevention coalition. The community has spoken loud and clear in previous annual adult surveys. Our healthy youth survey speaks loud and clear that in addition to substance abuse, mental health in the community is a priority for all community members. And although we are primarily funded with substance abuse grants, we identify evidence-based practices that reduce risk factors for both mental health and substance use. So I wanted to let you know that the community is on a downswing into potentially significant mental health challenges. I also wanted to share a video with you that we've shared with all staff in the district. This originated with our assistant principal, Melanie Gray, who you may know from Frylands Elementary, but it just speaks so poignantly to where our kids are at when we get past the forecast.
Do like a burst and then I'll jump. I love being a teenager. Hands on me. Hands on me. Hands on me. My chains. Are you learning? I'm staying here. I'm gonna eat. You look like you're on crack. I can't wait. Hold on.
What do you think? How did that sit with you? I know some on the call have seen this with me a couple of times. Liv McNeil, the creator of this video, did it last year as a freshman in a Toronto high school. This is how she saw her experience and what she wanted to communicate to others. And we've shared this experience with all staff in Monroe. It's going to be a different kind of year. I can tell you one thing I'm grateful for is that this environment is not happening to us in the same way that it happened to us last year. Last year, we were really responding and building the plane as we flew it. But that led to some great tools and mechanisms that allowed us to serve kids well and meaningfully. And this year, it's about continuing those processes and refining and expanding them to the degree that that's possible. But for me, this video is my call to action this year.
So, Joe, I think I've seen this a few times, and what it really makes me think about is kind of where people's heads are right now. Because I know that we've got educators, we've got parents, we've got students who are really thinking about beyond COVID, beyond this year, beyond this time, to post-secondary education, to work, to all of that. And there are people who are very, very focused on, making sure that that's rigorous, that it's relevant, that kids are learning and all of that. And I think as a system and as a community, we have to step back and know that's gonna be there and it's gonna be okay. But taking care of the social and emotional piece for students and for staff in our community is really what we need to be doing now. But I feel a tension. What's my kid gonna be learning? What math class? Why don't they have this math class right now? Why all of these things? And it's like, totally get it. People are thinking future. They have hope, but we've got some real needs that we have to take care of right now.
Right now.
I was thinking of, we've talked over the years about that balance of task and relationship. And a program that non-present can be so task-oriented. And if we don't take care of the relationships, I think the first couple of weeks shouldn't be all the tasks we're going to do. They should be creating a relationship with the people we're going to be working with, and how we can be accessed and how we can be there, and getting to know them, and if we don't, and all those things, and building that, and then getting into the tasks. But it's so easy to just, and in a classroom, you start out with the plan for the semester of the year, so it is a task thing. But you're also connecting with those kids because they're right there, and we've got to find different ways to do that, because education is a lot more than the tasks.
Yep.
Oops, go ahead, Mary.
Thanks. What startled me was the mood of that clip compared to the contrast of what typically is occurring in homes and classrooms and walkways at school this time of year. This is such an exciting time. My grandson, who's 6, called me yesterday and was, Grandma, I'm going into 2nd grade. I'm a 2nd grader. And it was such an upbeat call with his excitement, and I just wonder how long he will be able to sustain that excitement. And I'm sure, Kim, I'm looking at your face and I'm thinking, how do you build in rituals that are so much a part of our culture? The excitement of return to school, the things that I can remember would happen in classrooms, would happen in families, the back to school pictures I'm seeing on social media. How do you still create memories for kids so that they feel that connection? I'm concerned that my 2nd grader at Chain Lake may become disenchanted unless those rituals are somehow infused within the classroom, whatever they do in 2nd grade. I'm not sure at this point how many hours they get, or how do you engage kids to be part of community?
Yeah, I was going to follow up on that, Mary, and that last year when we went through this COVID thing, kids had relationships with each other. They had relationships with their teacher. Now they're getting a new teacher. They're getting new classmates that they have no in-person relationships with. How do we make that happen in addition to the learning?
I can't help but thinking how fortunate and privileged that child was to have a bedroom with a nice comforter and a brand new laptop with a bunch of stickers on it. And I was thinking, what if one of our more marginalized children was in this video, and how bad I might be feeling just actually watching that situation and seeing what their home life was like and how they were trying to figure out even to get in front of the computer to get this to happen. You know, and so not that to discount any children's problems, but just imagine the compounding issues that may be happening for some children who have a much less fortunate, their own bedroom that they can sit in every day with no interruptions, etc. So it was hard to watch even that. And so I'm just imagining how much harder it would be watching some of our less fortunate families.
Thanks for that lens. The lens on reality, Phil.
I've had a theory that every child at some time thinks they're deprived. And it's not what's around them, it's what's not around them. And every kid knows somebody that has something that they don't have. And that's where it comes from. And you have to outgrow that, but you don't solve that by telling a kid, well, you have a computer and this kid doesn't. That doesn't help that kid anymore that's feeling left out for whatever reason. All that does, if they're feeling bad, it makes them feel worse. Because I have this and I still don't feel right. So that's a dangerous thing to somebody gets cut from cheerleading and or whatever, and they feel terrible, and they come in your office and say, well, I just talked to someone that lost a child, how can you think that's important? And what do they leave with? Two problems. I had this problem when I came in, and it was so minimalized, so it's a careful, we have to be careful with that we don't, how we handle those kinds of things, because, if a person says that, I'll tell you an example of when I was teaching these years and years ago. There was a girl, and she committed suicide the week after high school. And she was telling everybody, I'm no good. And everyone was telling her, no, you're very good. Nobody was saying, why are you not good? Why do you feel you're not good? And every person that was giving her objective truth was seen as not understanding in her eyes. I mean, it was a huge, huge wake-up call for me, and it's been part of my thinking for the rest of my life, because it was such an emotional, powerful thing. But to be understood. So part of it is you don't look at what she does have, you look at what she's going through in any video like that.
Yeah, that's exactly.
So what is our role as a coach? Oh, Erin, please.
Go ahead,
I've talked a lot. So no, you go first.
I just wanted to share, that's exactly, Tom, what stands out to me. This is, probably the 5th or 6th time I've seen that video, and it's just harder every single time, because I think it relays the isolation that our kids are feeling. And so I think, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are multi-layered things that problems that our kids are up against right now. But I think that isolation piece is something that every single one of them, no matter what else they're missing or what else they need right now that they're all experiencing, and it's just weighing on them. And that's why, you know, Joe showed that graph a little bit ago. I mean, that's such a large reason why, you know, we really are entering into this very troubling point of crisis, you know, in the next couple of months, just because you know, summers are summer for kids. And what I mean by that is, you know, yes, a lot of our older kids get to spend a lot of time with their friends typically. You know, younger kids don't necessarily notice not seeing their friends because they're more focused on like time with family during the summer. But now we're in the fall, and this is the time when all of our kids, K through 12, get to come to school and get to spend time with their friends and get to be with their peers, and they don't have that still, right? And they haven't had it since March. And just that isolation piece is it's just awful. I mean, it's awful on adults, you know, and we have the skills to regulate around it, but our kids don't. Thanks, Mary.
So
What I was just thinking is,
it's all yours.
my apology, I'll make it brief. I'm just, as I'm listening to what people are saying and internalizing, I'm thinking, okay, how does this pertain to the work of the coalition? It's certainly for us to know of the task and the relationship building for our educators, who are our partners, but what is our role as a coalition in support to this work? And I think it's just important for us to continually put that frame around what we're doing and how can we as a coalition support youth and support the educators in building those supports around youth that they need right now.
Can I ask a question, Kimberly? Joe, is there a way to get access to that video and your slides? I'd love to be able to share that with some of our staff as we move forward with how can we help in the community. I feel like those would be great tools to be able to help with game.
It is, Kimberly, it's actually a YouTube video, and I'll send you the link. But you could also just Google NUM, and it's going to be your top hit at this point. It's gone viral.
How about your screens that you were showing us earlier with all the statistics and stuff? Is there a way to get that information too, or is that?
I'll send it to you. It's all public information, and I'm your servant.
Okay, great. Thank you. I super appreciate it.
Can you send to all of us?
Everybody but you, Chris.
Oh, okay. Well, everybody should thank me for that.
Kim, I saw your hand.
So those people that are watching the recording, how will they also receive that information?
I'm working on it. I'll let you know within 2 weeks. Most likely what I will do is upload this to the Coalition YouTube account to begin with and send out the link on our mailing list. And then as we rebuild the website, we'll get that up there in a regular hub.
Perfect.
Okay, it's Kim's turn.
Wait, it's my turn?
You got it.
I don't know what, I'm so sorry. What is my turn? It's my turn to do what?
I thought you raised your hand.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. That was a me too.
Oh.
For your slides, I would love to be able to show staff that slide with the graph of kind of like where you go through in a crisis. Sorry, I have nothing. I thought all of a sudden I had a presentation to do.
Nope. Nope. No need to panic. Okay. Okay. I want
yesterday. Oh, go ahead. I was a part of 2 different schools with the materials pick up and drop off. And there just on a happy note, there was so much excitement to see the kids coming through the schools and the cars and the teachers meeting their teachers for the first time. They were so excited just to be back on campus again. So that is, if we can build in something like that quarterly or something, just drive through to get the kids back on campus, because that is where they want to be. And it was all socially distanced. Everybody had gloves and masks on. So we were all very safe, but it was just great to see kids again. And that's what the teachers and the staff and the kids all want.
Absolutely.
And I'll just offer that Kim and our district leadership have been very clear with Monroe School District employees that our priority is to build rapport and relationship. And some of that language has been talked about as a slow rollout of the curriculum, because we know how important those relationships are going to be this year. So I'm very grateful. I'm going to share my screen again. Oh, go ahead, Amber.
I just, one of the things for yCoalition, I'm sorry I didn't get to say this earlier, but I was just talking to a teacher about how it's different than last spring, because the teachers already have this connections, and starting off without really knowing the kids is just, it's like the opposite effect of, you know, when you do see someone physically, you have more of a connection with them. So I like all the family, you know, meetings that are planned and things like that. So I think that as much, you know, with staying guidelines and seeing as many students in person as possible, I think encouraging that is really important, you know? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, I want to show you this screen. What you're seeing here is our coalition logic model. And this is what's contained. Aaron Wood,
Sorry.
will you just speak to me?
Yes, Joe, I'm sorry. So I think, is everybody else seeing that black bar across the top of Joe's window?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So Joe, if you unshare really quickly, and then when you click share screen, you should have the option of sharing just application window.
Oh man, I'm so happy.
Try
for
that, because I
Aaron.
think what we're seeing is that black box to us is what you are, how you are seeing our faces.
Is there? I don't have that option.
You don't have an application window option?
No. Nope.
Can you pop up share screen? No?
Mm-mm.
Okay, I'm sorry, then never mind. I will
We're gonna have to live with the black bar. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's happening. Tech
carry
is
on.
happening.
Okay, no problem. Thanks.
Okay, so this is our 2019 strategic plan. It was our last major strategic plan, right? Last year we did a rewrite. So this has essentially been our logic model for 2 years. Our new strategic plan will be due to Washington State Healthcare Authority by June 2015. And if you've been with us before, there's a process by which we both obtain and review our data. We engage the community, and really we're inclusive. We engage really all aspects of our community. So if they can't come to us, we'll go to them to help interpret the data, because the data we receive is meaningless without context. And the community every year provides context to what we're seeing. And then we create a plan that aligns with risk and protective factor model that actually predicts engagement in substance use, mental health disorders, violence, teen pregnancy, school dropout, and a few other risk behaviors. So what you're seeing on this logic model is the work that we've done. If you look at the purple box, we identified several problem behaviors 2 years ago, and those problem behaviors have actually been pretty consistent since 2013. We haven't swung wildly in what we are trying to address, but that is underage drinking, binge or underage problem in heavy drinking, marijuana use, vaping, depression, and suicide attempts. And we've identified 4 risk factors that predict engagement in those behaviors, in those consumption behaviors. That was community disorganization. We're vulnerable in Monroe to disorganization, early initiation of the problem behavior, favorable attitudes toward those problem behaviors, and family management problems. And then we have the community provide context for why we are at risk for these factors, and then our plan in the green box. So again, I want to focus on this because in the green box are the strategies we've undertaken in order to change the blue and the purple box. Again, drinking, binge drinking, marijuana use, vaping, depression, attempted suicide. And you've seen this next slide from me before, but since it's our first meeting of the school year, I want to show you. So we've been targeting those, and the most recent data available shows not only do our students have the most helping adults to turn to in recorded history of the Health Use Survey, it's our second lowest suicide attempt rates ever, the lowest rate since 2006, our lowest alcohol use rates ever recorded, our second lowest binge drinking rates ever recorded, our second lowest marijuana use rates ever recorded, our lowest prescription painkiller use rates ever recorded, and our 6-year decline in non-opioid prescription medicines. So again, this work, the business of the coalition, these plans, the process we're about to engage in, literally has translated into success in our key target areas. Like, I'm just so proud of these 2 slides. So I don't know why I haven't presented it to you like this before, but man, we're kicking butt. So now let me get to the program updates here and show you what's going on. So in that strategic plan, we've identified a variety of evidence-based strategies, and those strategies are in various states of implementation or postponement due to COVID. But the coalition is meeting. The blue icon with the hearts, that is the logo for Parenting Wisely. Parenting Wisely will be administered this year. It is 100% online with no adaptations, offered in both English and Spanish. I bring this up because I don't have a way to get this into the community right now. I really need to come to you as our coalition partners and ask who can connect parents with this evidence-based program. The coalition picks up the tab for participation. All we need from your parents is a commitment to complete all 6 modules of the program and to participate in a pre and post test because we're required to track outcomes. This year, we will be implementing mental health first aid. A number of years ago, we sent Erin Wood to become certified in training youth mental health first aid. And she delivered a training just a couple of months ago in June. Our plan this year is to do more than 1 training. The one scheduled training is the same time as always, June, but we know that there's going to be need before this year. Right now, both middle schools are implementing Botvin's Life Skills Training Program. That is unfolding as planned, so it's being implemented now. Teachers get to decide when, but several teachers started first day of school. So this is a key violence prevention and substance abuse prevention social emotional learning program. The Coping and Support Training Program, CAST, will be implemented this year at both middle schools and high school. We have training funding set aside for our counselor at Hidden River Middle School. The Prevention Plus Wellness Program is a single session, the world's only single session evidence-based substance abuse prevention program that has specific outcomes in reducing marijuana use. Prevention Plus Wellness is is a strategy that we use when students have been cited for a substance abuse violation. The policy is not zero tolerance, you use and you're out. We recognize that substance use is largely a symptom of a deeper underlying issue, and we have tools in place to help students bridge those issues with healthy strategies. And so Prevention Plus Wellness, the sport program, is one of our early intervention strategies. Our only implementer right now, Morgan Huber, who implements for both middle schools, is online with us. Our prior implementer at the high school level, Chris Jury, and we'll get to that slide. Chris is no longer implementing sport, and I'll tell you why in a minute. The coalition continues to provide community and school district trainings, both within Monroe and outside. So we are recognized as regional trauma-informed training experts, and we provide that training for a variety of our coalition partners. Most recently, we did this for our Boys and Girls Club and YMCA partners. We trained all of their staff this summer in trauma-informed practice. Sources of Strength program will be implemented. This is a youth-driven suicide prevention initiative that focuses on protective factors, building protective factors that buffer against suicide risk. Instead of using messages of sadness, shock, or trauma, they instead work to promote 8 different protective factors that buffer against suicide. And then we have a small group version, a connection group that will be launching October 2nd. This group is led by our student support advocate at Monroe High School, Raylan Lucy. The group is open to all students, but what we found last spring during a pilot implementation of this is that it really appealed to our cultural minority students. Raylan is a fantastic ambassador and really put together a meaningful connection point for some struggling students. Chris Jury is normally our project success implementer in addition to the Sport Prevention Plus Wellness program, but Chris Jury was promoted out of his student assistance professional position to a regional supervisor position for ESD 189. I'll let Chris talk through that in a second. We also do an information dissemination campaign called Under the Influence of You. That campaign traditionally runs at the Galaxy Theater because the screens show to about 30,000 people per month. Galaxy Theater remains closed, and I'm not confident that we're going to have a strong return to in-facility movie viewing, and so we need to consider alternatives for promoting this strategy. Similarly, PAC's Good Behavior Game will continue to be implemented in part, but we are not allowed to say that we are implementing the full PAC's Good Behavior Game because the developer has made clear that there are no online adaptations. So our teachers are still using the skills they learned, but the way that we would normally track outcomes, distracting and disruptive classroom behavior, and some of the strategies that we'd engage in the classroom just don't fit the virtual environment. So technically, PACS is suspended right now. I met with Healthcare Authority today to try to talk through this, and that was the verdict. So that is in negotiation. I also wanted to let you know that we are leveraging multiple fund sources to make the work of the coalition a reality. That includes the Federal Substance Abuse and Prevention Block Grant, general fund state revenue, 0.1% sales tax revenue, dedicated marijuana account revenue, federal partnership for success revenue, state mental health promotion and prevention revenue, and even revenue from OSPI for our Botman Life Skills Training Program. So as you can imagine, and the reason why I'm often all business and rely on the coalition to provide the community context is because this creates a lot of hoops to jump through. The school district also contributes a significant amount of funding to our Tier 3 behavioral health team, but largely these programs and those personnel are all funded by you. So that you know, the last week of August, we were notified by the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction that we received an $11,000 grant to fund Botman's Life Skills Training Program. This was funded by the coalition directly last year, and so it's nice to have a more consistent, non-community-based source of fund for this program. The program has been district approved curriculum since 2006, I believe. And so I think the ultimate goal is to get this back to being funded by the school district. This month, we anticipate receiving an additional $20,000 for substance abuse prevention programming. Normally, that would be one-on-one or small group programming, but in this remote environment, I'm going to come back to you in October to start planning around how we spend down all of our coalition funding with integrity and in alignment with the expectations of these different fund sources, which are highly stringent. They're not fair game. It's not open season for us to do whatever we want. We have to show that we are complying with the intent of the fund source, but within that, there's, I think, a lot of flexibility. So our plan, our coalition strategic plan, is always specifically vague to give us the flexibility we need to meet the community's needs. And we have more resources right now than we traditionally would have access to, and we want to put that to work. And then, as you see, again, my good friend, our coalition superstar, Chris Jury, was promoted to oversee student assistance professionals region-wide. And then my last bit, and I'm going to take a step back and hand this off, but what's on the horizon? Well, in August, Aaron Wood led an anti-racism book study and established You Belong Anti-Racism and Equity Lending Library at Monroe High School. We engaged in both local and regional training. We presented social emotional learning to the school board, which included a variety of coalition personnel and strategies. Today, the coalition meeting resumes. We'll be launching the annual community survey this month. Second Step and Botman's Life Skills Training launch this month in October. You'll be getting a Survey Monkey poll from me. We're required to have coalition members complete each October a coalition assessment tool. It's essentially a pre-post tool that helps the state understand where we are as a coalition, but more than that, we use this information to guide our own progress as a coalition, so it's very meaningful to us. By October, I expect that we will have some strategies around how we'll continue the Under the Influence of You campaign. We'll start to implement the secondary district-wide signs of suicide, primary suicide prevention program. In October, our coalition meeting will shift to an evening meeting. We're required to do a general coalition orientation for both key leaders and community members. We've been talking for years about moving this to an evening meeting, and this year we will actually be able to do that. My hope is that we'll have sport prevention plus wellness, and we know that Sources of Strength small group connection will be up and running. And as you might have seen on this slide, we received notice this year that there is no healthy use survey. We are still required to develop a database strategic plan. The Healthy Use Survey comprised the largest component of that plan because it has the scales built in to identify those predictive risk and protective factors. And without that, it's going to be challenging. Kim and I have been talking behind the scenes. We believe that we'll be able to conduct a custom mini healthy use survey in conjunction with a new data gathering tool that we have access to called Bright Bites that will include some social emotional learning surveying done K-12 for the first time in Monroe's history. And so I believe that we'll have robust data options that can inform the strategic plan. November, the State Prevention Summit is moving completely virtual. It was supposed to be held in Spokane this year. Chris Jury, Aaron Wood, and I will all be featured speakers. I hope to have our CAST training occurring, the coping and support training, that's small group suicide prevention training happening for at least one of our counselors by November. We still plan on showing our annual movie screening in December in lieu of the December coalition meeting, and our annual survey will conclude. By January, we'll have all of our data sources available, and we'll have to start beginning our strategic planning process. But then I want you to see that because of COVID, our normal activities wouldn't normally apply. And so what I'm going to come back to you with in October is searching for your ideas about how we create those connection points, both for students and community members, how we serve the community based on our data and based on the needs that we start to see emerge. All of this is going to be up to you. I can tell you that your spheres of influence and your wisdom far surpass my own. And I'm going to be leaning pretty heavily on you to drive what the coalition is doing. In April, as normal, we'll try to invite the community to participate in our round robin data analysis. My hope is that there's a vaccine or something happening that allows us to meet. I'd hate to do this online, but if it has to be done online, we can definitely do that. And then by May, we'll present what that needs assessment looks like. We'll be selecting new programming for the fiscal biennium that begins in July 1st, 2021. We'll have youth mental health first aid training. And our strategic plan will be due. So in a nutshell, that's what's on the horizon. Again, in addition to posting the video of this training, I'll make sure that, or of this meeting, I'll make sure that I get these slides out to you too, because we really need to lean into your creativity. Now, in June, we formed a small anti-racism and equity work group, and members of the work group have been very active over the summer. In fact, I've asked Chris Jury, who's on the line with us, to talk about his student voice work, and as soon as Chris is done, he needs to book it up to Bellingham to serve one of his schools in that region. Aaron Wood's going to talk briefly.
Oh, I'm sorry, Chris had to hop off early.
Oh no. Okay, we ran over. Okay, well, we can talk about that. And then Chief Jolly and his team actually conducted a community gathering with St. Mary's and has some information to share about our student resource officer. So I'm going to hand that off to Aaron. Would you talk about the MHS book study and the lending library?
Oh, sure. After George Floyd was killed in the spring, we had a number of conversations among staff and students in the district, and it became clear that a lot of our Monroe High School staff were very interested in participating in this book study. So we identified 3 books with the idea that everybody is kind of coming to the work of becoming more anti-racist from different areas. I like to sort of use the metaphor of we're all merging onto this highway from different exits, right, from different places. So we selected So You Want to Talk About Race by Ajomo Oluo, who is a Seattle native. An author. We chose Culturally Responsive Teaching and the Brain by Zaretta Hammond, which offers a lot of insight and perspective on sort of the neurology of responding to a multicultural classroom. All 3 of these are really great books. And we chose White Privilege by Robin DiAngelo, who is also a Seattle native and a professor at University of Washington. So you may have heard of some of these books. I highly recommend all 3 of them. We had about 30 staff members from Monroe High School who participated in 1 or all 3 of these book studies, and we met and had 3 hour-long conversations per book. So we were able to offer professional development hours for staff who wanted that, but we had some really great conversations just about, the state of the world and how do we look at this work from a very individual standpoint. How do we, grow ourselves? How do we support each other in this work? And how do we, bring that into our classrooms and into the school and into our communities just to do better for ourselves, for our students, and for our families. So that was great. And then thanks to some additional funding that we had in the spring, we were able to order multiple copies of 16 other titles to add to the Monroe High School library. And I worked with Jessica Starr-Lewis, who is an educator at Monroe High School, and she kind of organizes the library at Monroe High School, and she wanted to sort of put together a PD library for staff members just to continue learning and growing. And so I worked with her to identify a number of titles. And so among those extra 16 titles that we were able to order, it's quite a lot of social equity and racial equity, continued learning, and a number of titles around like teenage development and how to teach to developing brains, and how to teach to, again, multicultural student base. So I've shared out that list of books with all of our Monroe High School staff and said, hey, go get them. Please participate in these in continued learning with your colleagues. And I've made the offer, although I'm not sure what capacity is going to look like in coming months, but I've made the offer that if there continues to be interest in continuing a book study, whether it's on racial equity, which I think is a conversation that never needs to end, or if there are other titles that are of interest, that we're happy to help organize those. So thank you so much for your support of all of that continued learning at Monroe High School, especially.
Chief, would you mind sharing what you've been up to? Or are there any
Sorry.
questions for Erin?
No, I just was going to say thanks for hosting it. I read all the books, only I came to one, but thank you, Erin. That's a lot of time and commitment.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Joe, I don't know if this is the time and the place, but I just wanted to share that on Monday at the board work session at 5 p.m., we're going to have Luis Versailles come from Courageous Conversations to talk with the board about partnering with us doing this work. So this is a really exciting opportunity, and I'm looking forward to having these conversations with the school board and providing some great opportunities for our students and our staff.
This is the perfect time to share that. Thank you. And then just so that you know, Monroe Equity Council has also been meeting regularly. There have been some pretty significant shifts, but they've broken themselves out into 3 primary work groups. I'm not on that committee right now. Some coalition members are. So I will open up the floor to you in just a few minutes, but wanted to hear from Chief Jolly first. But one of those work groups is a Monroe School District work group. So I've been reaching out to the Equity Council to try to determine exactly what they're doing on behalf or with the school district. And I finally got a promise to respond earlier this morning. So I don't exactly know what that involves, but I think Mary Meyer speaks very eloquently to what the coalition's role probably needs to be, and that is to ensure that we're following our mission of coordinating across the community. In our strategic plan, we identify that role as reducing community disorganization. So there's a clear need for some coordination, and we'll talk more about that as we have time. But Chief, would you mind sharing about your gathering at St. Mary's?
Sure. Thank you, Joe. I appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak a little towards that. And one of these days, I'm going to have to corner you, and you're going to have to spend a day educating me on some of the initiatives and the good works and how the nuts and bolts work behind your coalition here that we're on. It's just phenomenal, the work and the programs that this group does and that you help foster. And I'm an eager student, willing to learn more. But in regards to St. Mary's, the mayor reached out, and we were able to get an audience with members of the St. Mary's community and the Hispanic community there. Myself, the mayor, the city judge, and our city administrator, Deborah Knight, went over and did kind of a panel thing, answered questions, and just spoke to members of the community about what was concerning to them, clarifications on how to be more involved in the city, we had a good exchange of information and got some good ideas and had a lot of after conversations. And it's just the current environment that we're in. We see the doors open, and we're going to step through it and take this opportunity to build those relationships. And mostly it was a listening posture, at least for me, because I wanted to hear what the concerns were. I didn't want to try to diagnose something from my perspective that might not have been accurate. And it was just a healthy, good experience. And as we're going into Hispanic awareness, or the cultural, the Hispanic month that's coming up on the 15th of September, we're going to continue that dialogue. We're going to continue meeting with that community, making sure that we're servicing them properly, that they feel comfortable with their police department and their city government. So we've opened up a great dialogue. We have 6 members of our Monroe police family that are Hispanic. So it's a natural fit for us. We have Spanish speakers here. Our big contest within our department is seeing who can learn the most Spanish words for us English speakers. So we're looking at this as a positive, good opportunity. Depending on who you talk to, there's 20 to 25% of our Monroe community that is Hispanic. And that is a marginalized community, a community that's often in the shadows. That there's a lot of talk about Black Lives Matter, but right here in our own backyard, we have the brown lives that we need to make sure we're reaching out to and talking to. So that's a work that we're rolling up our sleeves and eager to engage in. And it's not to fix any problem that we perceive, it's just to make sure that we have those bridges in that communication. So that's kind of what we're about. And we're going to continue listening and making sure that we're responsive and in tune with that community. So that was the St. Mary's, and as I said, we're going to continue that throughout. We're going to continue that effort, but especially diligently during this next month. You want me to talk about the SRO a little bit?
I think there's interest.
So right now, there's been a lot of knee-jerk reactions to whether it's defund the police, take SROs out of school, programs that have been going 20, 25 years for various reasons that have nothing to do with policing necessarily. Fortunately, here in our community, we don't face that. The school district is supportive of renewing our school contract with our officer. With that said, there's not a need for the officer to be physically on the campuses, present on the campus right now, because we are in this virtual world. However, we will maintain that until the kids get back in school, at which time the contract will go into effect and the officer will be on campus. But we will continue paying for that officer being here on our payroll until that time comes. With that said, he's still available to go to any events that the school may need. One thing that popped into my mind is when you were talking about various programs, Joe, is if there is a role that our SRO can fulfill or help with the coalition during this time, please let me know. We can do that, not only that person, but members of our staff. Just let us know, just talk to us, and if we can help get the word out or fulfill a need that you may have, we're willing to do that. Regardless of the contract, have that employee, we have other people that are willing and able.
Well, your SRO's in trouble now.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay.
That's okay. I like taxing him. So, so that's available. We're maintaining that position, and we'll pay his salary and worry about that until school gets back in session. Then he'll resume his normal duties. We just continue trying to walk through any open door that we have and tell our story and promote good civil dialogue and communication between us and whatever communities are out there. And we'll continue to partner with anyone to help their efforts. And they can have the marquee and the spotlight. We've got the worker bees, and we're willing and able to partner to make this a better community. So that's what I have
for you. Any questions for Chief Jolly? Well, it looks like you're getting off easy. Nope, Mary's got something to say.
Well, I have thoughts, but Chief Jolly, anything that you could share with this group in terms of ahas or lessons learned from that experience in dialogue? What should we be cognizant of moving forward, as if we move forward with the equity discrimination prevention subgroup? What was insightful to you in setting up that kind of a community forum?
I think the biggest thing is the willingness for that particular community to be engaged. They are more than happy and eager and willing to meet together and talk and discuss things. There's not animosity. There's not, it's just a matter of understanding and the ability to have access, I think. Truly, I think that's the biggest thing, is just being able to open the door and begin a dialogue. But when we asked, hey, would you be interested in continuing these kind of forums, meetings, outreach, everybody's hand went up. So it was a very positive experience. The biggest thing in relation to police and the Hispanic community is the role that it plays in relation to immigration. And I couldn't overemphasize enough that that's not our job, that's not our purpose. It's a crazy world out there, and misinformation is just absolutely everywhere. And so in order to maintain and build those lines of communication and keep that trust, we just have to keep talking. So that was the most insightful. There's no secret sauce or anything. I just believe it's a community that's ready and able to be engaged. It's just up to us, and open those doors and find out what they need from whatever service organization that is talking with them.
Did you get a sense that they felt at all marginalized by the Black Lives Matter movement?
Absolutely. And that was one of my main motivations in reaching out. You know, I've had skin in the game for 20 years in that regard, and my youngest boy is African American, and Juneteenth is nothing new to me. And it's, you know, going down that road, I'm very comfortable in that world. But I was concerned here because of the brown lives that they're our constituents. That's a community that we need to be watching out for and reaching out to and talking about. And so, yes, I felt that they were definitely very appreciative of the extension of the city reaching out to them. So there is a lot of talk. I like to talk about marginalized communities and people who are often overlooked as a whole and not in specifics. But right now, our clientele is the Hispanic community. That's what's right in front of us. So, and there's tons of others, whether it's homeless students or people that Caucasian or whatever it is that their social economical class is at risk. There's plenty of people to reach out to, but if one sticks out big to me, it was the Hispanic community. So that's why we were eager to go there.
Thank you.
So, Tom, I think what I'd like to do is to suspend the rest of the agenda to open this up for some partner share outs and then closing out on time. This was an information dense session. Like I said, in October, we'll get back to work groups and actually deciding the trajectory of the coalition in 2021. But I wanted to bring you all up to speed as quickly as I could here today. So thanks for sitting through that component of it. Chris Gray or Kathy or Julia, anybody, Anybody have something they'd like to share with the coalition about what your organization or agency is up to, or what projects you're working on that the coalition might be interested in or might be interested in supporting?
Chris, you're muted.
Things have been pretty quiet around Housing Hope. We continue to work with the residents who are sent to us by the county. And right now we basically have on hold all of our building. We have a piece of property that we want to build on up at up north, and so, but nothing in the Monroe area. So I have alerted the board and the staff that we want to make sure that we get some look-see out in the East County area, because we still have such great needs. So, and I'm no longer the president, I'm now the past president.
Chris, what's your wait list for housing in Monroe?
Well, you know, it all comes through the county, so we don't have we don't carry a wait list. You'd have to look at the 211 wait list.
Juliet, what's happening in your world with the HRSA consortium or otherwise?
That's a great question. A lot of health district world is still pretty heavily focused on the COVID response. Here, our Healthy Communities team is kind of, I would say, slowly starting to pick back up pieces of our other projects. A lot of us totally shifted gears in the spring to on parts of the response, contact tracing, myself included. So it's exciting to kind of start to tiptoe back into things that we used to do. So for me, that means kind of starting to pick up a little bit of our youth marijuana prevention work again. Just still a pretty small piece of funding, but that is something we will still be doing. I think Jennifer is kind of figuring out what the tobacco and vaping prevention world is going to look like this fall and spring, but I will check in with her and have a better update for next meeting. And then the exciting news with our HRSA grant work is that we got 3 more years of funding. So part of the grant is in Darrington, in the Darrington area, but part of it is in Sky Valley. It does not include it's by census tract and what the HRSA, the federal agency, determines is rural. So Monroe does not count as rural, neither does well, yeah, so we only have 2 rural census tracts in the county, and the one in the Sky Valley area includes Index and then parts of some other towns, but not the actual city or town boundaries. It's kind of wonky. So a little bit of our work overlaps with Monroe School District's boundaries and the coalition's boundaries. So Joe, it's been really wonderful to have you participating in that work, and I'm so excited you'll be around. And I'm actually going to send out an email later today to kind of figure out a time to bring partners for that work back together and figure out what the next 3 years look like now that we have funding. So I'm excited for that, but also excited to get back into kind of the youth marijuana prevention and tobacco vapor prevention work. You know, working with schools looks really different this fall and probably spring, but we're excited to get to even one day a week or a few hours to work on that. That's where we're at. I'll try to have a better general update by next meeting, though.
Thank you. Family liaisons, Kathy Jackson and Kathy Bernhardt. Any updates from your world? What are you seeing as we head into September?
Sorry, I can't figure out how to unmute. So we're right now, because with my other hats that I wear, which is a foster care liaison and a kidney bento liaison, I think my biggest thing going into the fall is identification of students that have experienced displacement over between spring and last summer. because we're not meeting them in person, some of those things can get missed. And so I really think it's going to take an entire community to identify these families and get them to fill out that student housing questionnaire, which can be found on our district website and or in any of our offices, which do have availability for people to come in and fill those out. I really would like to get them identified this school year for that, just that continuity of services moving forward. Other than that, we're off to a really good start this school year, given a lot of, little hiccups and, this is new for us all. And we just appreciate everybody's patience as we have gone and started.
I want to give an extra kudos to Kathy. The work that she does with members of our community who are really struggling and probably would remain invisible don't because of her. And so thank you, Kathy.
Yeah. And I also want to encourage and give a shout out to the Sky Valley Food Bank and the Maltby Food Bank. They have partnered together with the Monroe Public Schools Foundation to set up food pantries in all 5 elementary schools. And that is dependent on, it might be daily for some schools, it might be once a week for some schools. They can come and just load up and get what they need for the week. So that's been a great, just ready to get it off and launched. So it's a really good thing that's happening.
Amber, you're on the steering committee for the Monroe Equity Council. Any updates you can provide for us?
I have taken a step back because I was really overwhelmed at the beginning of school and my son starting. So I can give a little information. I'm going to go back on it once this starts school. Is there any specific questions? I can answer those things, but I'm not currently on it, and I would feel bad saying that I was.
Does anybody have questions about the Equity Council they want to pose to Amber? Okay. Anybody else want to share? Oh,
sorry. I was just going to say, I think it's going in a really good direction. It's very organized. They're doing a lot of social media, that presence that wasn't there before, not only just Facebook, but also, an actual website. And so they have a lot of good structure behind it. They are meeting once a week. The steering committee is meeting once a week. And so that's something that I just could not do right now. And so they are quite serious and dedicated to that. We have members from the mosque and people who have a long history of, a career in education. And so we really do have, I think, a great group that will continue to put feelers out into the community. And I think it's going to grow into something really wonderful. And it's really hard work. So I commend anyone who does anything related to any type of, community outreach around things that are very emotional, and that it's hard work, and everybody here does that kind of hard work. So I appreciate everyone, and it is something that we do need. They do need support from other groups. So they definitely don't want to repeat services. That's come up a lot, and I know that's something that happens. So that's what I'll say. Sorry.
no, thank you so much. So unless there are other comments or questions, I'm going to hand this back to our fearless leader, Tom, to close out. Tom always has words of wisdom for us.
Joe, Tom, can I make one other comment? This is Chris. I just wanted to, I have a group of about 10 women who are still sewing masks. I have about 150 child-sized masks. If anybody needs them, please email me and we'll get them to you. My spare time.
I was wondering how Joe was going to, I saw so much agenda still to go on. He just handled it smoothly. My advice for this month, get your flu shot.
Yeah.
Time to get your flu shot. So, all right, we'll see. We're going to do an evening meeting next month, and we're anxious to see how that goes. And so we look forward to, and thank you everyone for the great sharing today. I just thought that was a pretty special meeting and way to kick off the new year, the new school year. So thank you. Thanks, Joe.
We're making a difference, guys. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Have a happy September.
Thank you all.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Thank you.
That go okay for you? Oh,